Okay, so Mike asked me to talk about the graduate teacher program, and the graduate teacher program is 25 years old. It was actually started, it was a very interesting beginning, because it was started by a coalition of the dean of the graduate school, the president of the graduate student government at the time, the dean of the School of Education, who wasn't Laurie Shepard in those days, it was somebody else, the vice chancellor for student services, and the director of the University Learning Center, which at that time was an educational opportunities program, basically because so many new minority students had been admitted and they needed extra support. And at the time, in 1984, there was basically almost no TA training of any sort done on this campus. It was basically done with like the biology labs, like John still does, in the chemistry labs, like Margaret Estrotham still does, and in the foreign languages. And most of the rest of campus was kind of a desert. Students were just handed a book and told to go teach. So I was hired. I'm actually a PhD in French literature with 60 credit hours in the College of Education. And I was teaching French at the time, and when the job opened up, I thought that'd be a perfect job for me because I'd also worked in educational publishing, and so I kind of had the three pieces I needed to work on preparing future faculty at the college level. And so the rest is kind of history. So when I got my job, I met with my boss the first day, and I said, "What would you like me to do?" And she said, "That's what I hired you to figure out." And so I started talking to people. I talked to a lot of faculty to begin with, and I said, how do we make teaching relevant on a research campus? And they said, you get the best research faculty to help you first. And so my first series of Friday forums were all top white male research faculty on this campus. And probably for the next couple of years, they were white male top research faculty on this campus. And so the first thing I did was start the Friday forums, which we continue today. And a lot of the faculty here have already done a Friday forum. So the Friday forum is a series of workshops that we do with faculty. And the idea is for faculty to come in and talk about their own personal approach to teaching. So it's a very personal kind of interaction with faculty, and the grad students love the Friday forums. And they're just phenomenal to this day. So I'm going to show you our events. So from the spring of 1985, where we had one Friday forum, one series of Friday forum, we've developed to a very large program that has 1,200 graduate students sign in a year at our activities, where we do a lot of things, and currently we're actually running 5 workshops a week. So we have Monday workshops, we still have the Friday forum. Our Tiger workshop is a more recent series that we actually instituted to address STEM graduate students' interest in teaching, and it's a collaboration with the CIRTL network. So the poster we did for ISTEM yesterday approached our Tiger CIRTL connection. We're doing technology workshops, and interestingly, this is the first year. We've been doing technology workshops for years, literally. This is the first year that they're actually well attended. So finally graduate students have figured out they're not getting out of it. They're going to have to learn to teach with technology at some level. Then we do special workshops, and we have that title just because sometimes people want us to do interesting things like stress management or assertiveness training or something like that. So we keep those kind of as a special kind of workshop that we can just throw things in. Then our summer workshops, for more than 20 years, we've done what we call our summer series in course design. And it was designed for graduate part-time instructors so that they can actually spend the summer learning how to put a course together. And our speakers, when you look at all the speakers, we have probably 150 speakers average a year. Most of them are faculty, and then my staff and I kind of specialize in certain workshops, like PJ does all our Bloom workshops. I do all of our not all of our teaching portfolio workshops, but I do teaching portfolios, I do learning styles. And so we've kind of specialized in what we do. I work a lot with foreign TAs too. So that's kind of the workshop piece. Now, out of our workshop piece, we've developed 3 certificates. So we have what we call the Certificate in College Teaching. And the point of this certificate is to make graduate students classroom ready on this campus. We want graduate students on this campus teaching well while they're here, because in many of the disciplines, not so much in science, but in many of the disciplines, grad students teach 6 years while they're here, while they're graduate students. So we want them to be good in the classroom, and that certificate is actually a very personal kind of certificate. We go into their classroom and videotape them twice. And Ben Spike, who's a former lead graduate teacher, has videotaped how many people, Ben?
Oh, I'd say I usually do between 1 and 2 a semester, and it's been...
So you've probably done 8 or 9 or 10?
Yeah, I'd say 7 or 8.
7 or 8?
Yeah.
And
Not
so
separate people, but separate video teams.
yeah, so we actually go in and videotape them. We train our lead graduate teachers to do videotape consultation. And then the Certificate in College Teaching has a very clever design. When we started it, as I said, most of the departments had no TA training, and so we built in this requirement that the departments, that to get a certificate, you had to have 20 real-time hours of TA training in your department, even though we knew the departments didn't have it. And we said in parentheses, and if your department doesn't have that, you can take 20 more graduate teacher program workshops. And so from the very inception of the program has been a safety net to catch graduate students, and an organizational development tool to kind of tickle departments into actually paying attention to their grad students. And I'm happy to report that 25 years later, we actually have 24 college teaching courses in departments. It's really cool. And we have TA training in almost every single department. We still have 2 departments that really don't do anything for their
Laura,
grads.
can you say more about those 24 college teaching courses? What do you mean by that?
We've got a 37-page report I can share with you.
I was looking for the 30-second summary. What does that mean? Like, what sort of courses are you talking about?
Well, we did a study, and your course in physics counts.
So
Noah's course, whoever's teaching
very
it.
Very good. Okay, so you're talking about...
So we're talking about courses that are designed to teach graduate students to teach at the college level.
Okay.
And some of them are...
so many.
I know,
Pardon?
it's really impressive.
Oh, it's really impressive. And 14 of those are literally a result of lead graduate teachers' work.
And is that... So how many of those are in STEM?
5.
Okay.
5 are in STEM. And we're actually working, one of our projects with our CIRTL grant right now is to try to develop 2 more this year. So if any of you are in a department that wants to develop a course like that, let me know, because we have some funding for a grad student to work on a college teaching course in whatever.
Laura, chemistry have one?
Chemistry does not have one.
Yet.
So it's been pretty exciting. And last year we developed our first CIRTL-related course in college teaching, and we used environmental science since it's a brand new department and kind of small. And they were ready, you know, they're so new that they were looking for good ideas. And so we actually worked with a former lead graduate teacher, pretty experienced lead. She was a lead for 2 years. And Lorene developed an environmental studies course in college pedagogy. And she, because it's through our CIRTL project, which is focused on teaching as research, she did a pre-test and she's going to do a post-test. So she'll actually be able to get a paper out of it, which is pretty cool. So that's our certificate in college teaching. Then we have another certificate that some of you might be interested in, because I know a lot of the scientists are working on GK12, thanks, kind of projects. And our professional development certificate is not based on teaching. To get the certificate in college teaching, grad students actually are required to teach 2 semesters. And that can mean as a TA in a lab, as a TA in a recitation, or it can mean as instructor for the class. But we require that they have their own students for 2 full semesters so that we can videotape them and they actually talk about real problems with real students. But the professional development certificate is not based on teaching. It's based on a project. And the grad students can develop their projects. They must have a faculty mentor, and they can develop any kind of project they want. So it could be something like a teaching as research project. It could be a mentorship. The original idea was to get grad students to have a mentor on a campus in our collaborative Preparing Future Faculty Network, which is basically all the institutions from the University of Wyoming down to Alamosa. We've had 4 grants through the PFF group to establish that Preparing Future Faculty Network. So we have liaisons at all these campuses who are willing to work with a grad student who wants to do a mentorship with a faculty member on another campus. And so, for example, we actually had a math student go down to Colorado College, and he actually got to teach a block. That was part of his mentorship. We had a Chinese student work on a technology project with a Chinese faculty member at the United States Air Force Academy, which was pretty cool. We had a fine arts historian work with the chair of the fine arts department at Colorado Springs to develop a website on women artists, because she wanted to do her dissertation on women artists and she couldn't find anything, and so they developed a website. So we've had some very cool projects done, and that particular one, some of you might be interested in working on with your own graduate students. It's, in a way, it's developed for the grad students who don't really get to teach a lot, so that they can learn something about college teaching that they're interested in and that is kind of outside of their department, that allows them to get a better sense of what post-secondary education is like, and to really develop their speaking skills, their presentation skills, because they have to give a colloquium on the other campus, things like that. Okay? Now, the LEAD network, I'm going to show you our leads. Actually, the quickest way to show you is this is our LEAD graduate teacher network. Starting in 1992, the chancellor funded me to work with graduate students from all the departments, and we built it kind of gradually. We started with 20, then we had 30, then we had 40. Now we have 50 LEAD graduate teachers, and it's a really exciting program. It's won one national award that was a $25,000 check that I just got handed to me to spend any way I wanted, which was pretty cool. So it's a very well recognized program. It's actually been copied by Harvard. Harvard sent 2 associate directors here, and they literally copied our LEAD network. MIT is very interested in it. So I'm going to be going to MIT in the spring. And so basically what we're doing is having departments identify really outstanding graduate students. And then we spend a week with them in the spring, in May, and we train them to do consultation on teaching. We give them a background in academic management and teamwork. We require that they work on a team, and this drives them all crazy. But we tell them, you know, if you're going to be an academician, you're going to be working in teams for the rest of your life, so you might as well learn now. And so the leads have to work on a team. This year, their team project is to make a poster on teaching and learning that they're going to have to present on April Fool's Day for a big party in Atlas. So the leads, basically, the lead part is the leadership part, and so the leadership part of being a lead is that the leads have certain things they're required to do. So they're required to create an original workshop on an area of teaching that is really hard to teach in their own discipline. And so that's kind of that kernel, that beginning of teaching as research, or the ability to identify a research issue on teaching in their own field. They have to do 1 videotape consultation. We actually require 1 videotape consultation. They can do more. And they have to work on their team. And then the rest of their job, we let them pick something that they personally want to do. And that's the leadership piece.